welcome everyone. Thank you for attending today's event. The event is organized once again by the quality engineering team of Albelli, and today's topic is going to be about testing SwiftUI Views with Snapshot Testing, and it's going to be presented by Jerozan, a solution architect from Albelli. The presentation is going to last approximately for 40 minutes, and if you have any questions in the meantime, please feel free to drop the question on the Q&A section, and at the end we're going to respond to all of them. But before this presentation, we have two special guests. We have Federico and Omnia from the Hack Your Future Academy. We recently found out about them, and we think that what they're doing is amazing, so we would like to spread the word. So welcome Federico, welcome Omnia.
Thank you very much.
You can maybe give us a short introduction on what you are doing, on who you are, and
Yeah, for sure. So, well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting us today. We've been around in the Amsterdam web development community for 4 years now, but we only recently started with a quality engineering track that is being created mainly by Omnia here next to me. So yeah, we prepared a small presentation for you to show you about Hack Your Future that starts with a small video, a short video. I think that is a nice way to get an idea of, how when we teach what it looks like, because we're very proud of having built a very professional community that is not only of people helping each other out, but also really trying to give people skills they need to have a good career for their future. So maybe I can start with that short video, if that's okay.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
There was lots of stories in the news about people coming to the Netherlands as refugees, mostly from Syria. And these people were often talented and motivated. They wanted to do something with their lives. The economy was growing and companies were looking for talented people. So we thought, why don't we kill two birds with the same stone? My name is Wouter. I'm the managing director of Hack Your Future in the Netherlands. So Hack Your Future was founded just over 3 years ago. It's a coding school, mostly for refugees, but now also for other people who've been through unfortunate circumstances in their lives. And so really what we do, we teach people, our students, the basics of programming and then help them to find a job. We also provide training on soft skills. So we talk about how to work in groups. Students also have to make a project at the end of their 7 months in which they work together and build a whole web application. Every year we want to graduate 50 people at least and make sure they find jobs. So right now I think close to 90% of all of our graduates actually find employment as a programmer within 3 months after graduation of the program. That is for us our most important measure. Do you find a job? If it would be just training, we wouldn't be really interested.
I'm originally from Damascus, Syria, and I came to the Netherlands to reunite with my husband who fled the war in Syria. I was lucky enough to find an internship after I graduated. And then after 4 months, I got a year full-time contract at Backbase.
All of our teachers are volunteers. 60% of Hack Your Future's business model depends on financial support from donors and sponsors. The students that we place in companies, we ask a fee to companies to compensate for the education and to pay basically for the education of our next generation of students. But I'm really happy, I feel lucky to be part of a community in which I can play a role in helping them to, realize their dreams really, and to take control over their fate, over their lives.
and everything. Yeah, so that's a little bit what we do and who we are. That one there was my colleague Wouter. He couldn't make it today. Unfortunately. But yeah, so we started 4 years ago, and at the moment we graduated over 150 people. Actually, that's a little bit outdated. 150 people that are now in jobs. So we work with, yeah, I think a lot of companies around the city, and we have students actually from all over the Netherlands, because before Corona, when the teaching would be actually done in person, we would pay them also for the transport to come to the school every week. So yeah, enough for me. Maybe Omnia, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Fede. Hello, everyone. My name is Omnia. I'm originally from Egypt, and I moved to the Netherlands 5 years ago. In 2018, I used to work for Marktplaats. Sorry, I used to work for Backbase. Now I work for Marktplaats. I used to work for Backbase, and that's the company that hosted Hack Your Future classes. And this is how I got introduced to Hack Your Future. I attended the first time with Hack Your Future. It was somewhere in July 2018. And if you've seen in the video, Wouter standing in the middle of a big circle, that's basically a stand-up. So they have a daily stand-up. And it's the first time I see those people. And then I got to hear people getting new jobs, people reunited with their families, people getting status, getting homes. And it was amazing to see people's life changed just in a moment. And ever since, I got hooked, and I just kept saying, how can I help? I started as a volunteer, so I was teaching Node.js and databases. And then I had the pleasure and honor to join the board of Hack Your Future, so I can help in other ways as well. And of course, to share my passion with Hack Your Future, I kept asking, why not? Why not we teach them quality engineering as well? It's part of the web development process and lifecycle and industry and everything. And I'm very lucky because I get to do two things I'm passionate about, and that's helping people and teaching quality engineering.
Very nice. Yeah, and I think that's also one of the things about Hack Your Future. I guess every community claims that as well, but you get to meet really, really nice people, not only professionally, but also people that you end up being friends forever, both students and hopefully I can speak for Omnia as well when I say friends. So yeah, so these are some of the people that graduated from our classes. I really hope that soon we can meet again and you can visit us, because of course everybody's welcome to join. Everybody's welcome to take a look at what we teach. We are extremely open to feedback in everything that we do, and that's basically, yeah, volunteers and people like Omnia are really what keep the community and Hack Your Future going, and of course the students who are super eager, super motivated, and well. This wouldn't happen. The success of Hack Your Future wouldn't be there without their drive, right? So we are a 7-month course in which we teach students full stack web development with a focus on modern JavaScript. So we receive around 200 applications for every class, and we select around 15 students. The way we do that is, we give them access to a platform where they learn the basics of HTML and JavaScript. And then based off of that knowledge, they need to build a website, and the best 30 to 40 websites, we interview them. We try to see why they are in the Netherlands, what's their motivation to become a developer. And then we select 15. Once they start the program, throughout the course, they have, of course, lessons and assignments and tests. But after they go through databases and before they go on to React, some of them, if we identify that there's 1 or 2 classes with some people that have strong communication skills and are also interested in quality engineering, basically that's where Omnia comes in and creates this new track for them. But I think we have a slide on that. Well, I think we can skip this. It's a little bit about our culture at Hack Your Future and how everything we do, basically, we do it so that it leads to jobs. We want people to be independent, to work together. We want to have this sense of community, but actually everything that we do is with the idea of people getting, sustainable jobs that they can also keep. And that's why, the professionalism of our community is as crucial as the way we treat each other and the way we work with each other. but yeah, let's focus on the quality engineering part. That's why we're here. So go ahead, Omnia. Is that better?
This is much better. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Go ahead, Omnia.
Yes, thank you. Well, as I mentioned, I got to share my passion of quality engineering with Hack Your Future, but of course, it was not about me. As you know, it's all about helping people and about the future part in Hack Your Future. So along with the core team of Hack Your Future and Federico, we started gathering feedback and doing surveys in tech companies and basically trying to ask other quality engineers and hiring managers what they are looking for exactly. Would they be open to hire a junior QA or not if we actually move forward with that module? And we got together in March 2020, as you see. We said why we're doing this and how we can do it. And this is where we started making the decision. It was very important to keep the focus on finding jobs and helping people and not just about doing this for the sake of doing it. So we started with the first iteration, and that was in May 2020, we had our first class, and that was of 2 students. Before that, we gathered together with a group of QAs and we brainstormed ideas what is really important to teach a junior QA. And this is where the learning goals came from and the planning you see. It's very hard to decide because, as everyone in the room, quality engineer and quality is different from one person to another, from one company to another, from one team to another. So we decided to focus on the basics and on the foundation of the quality mindset and how we can give them enough so they can adapt to the different cultures of quality in different companies. And this was the biggest challenge. The first iteration, as I said, it was a trial. We had 2 students, and by August, we had our first student, that was Dua. She got an internship, and this is where you really feel that you're actually making an impact and helping people. It was amazing, and she's amazing, and I was very proud of her. The second iteration, we started in December 2020. We have 5 students. We finished the module by January. 2 of the students got internships already. 2 of them are amazing, are keeping practicing. And I couldn't stress enough how amazing those people are, and you see them growing and you really share your passion with them. We've learned a lot along the process. We've learned how we can teach quality to people because they ask questions, and some things we quality engineers take for granted that it is like this, but then when you start explaining to someone else or teaching them, you really understand more, and it's a 2-way learning. You learn from them and they learn from me. Now, we have 2 students that are looking for internships, and I hope by now, with everything that you've heard, you're asking yourself a question: how can I help? And this is where we really need you, and this is where Fede, the expert of helping, is going to tell you how you can help us.
Thank you, Omnia. Yeah, so in general, like Omnia said, we just finished with the second round of QA, and we would really love to grow this module, this training, because we see that, I mean, companies have, from what we hear, right, that they are very interested in hiring people with a QA training, and especially for mobile QA. But we know already that, you know, from the saying to the actual hiring, it usually takes a couple of months. But we are already looking at, well, like Omnia said, these 2 people are looking for an internship, but also to start a new group of QAs sometime soon. And for that, we're looking for companies that are interested in providing a place for an internship and eventually a job if they do a good job. But also, I mean, we want people to get involved in different ways. At the moment, Omnia is the one that is running the show mainly. It's really a lot of work, and I think it would be very refreshing to have somebody else to participate in those classes. And, you know, if we can start to grow a little bit the amount of students with the amount of mentors, I think that would be very healthy, not only for Omnia, but also for the community, because we really need to build our name within the QE community so that they know that we are there and that we really have very talented people. So in terms of mentoring, there are actually many ways in which you can help. The easiest way is just to, take a look at the curriculum. We have some students now. If your company is not interested in hiring juniors, but is still, maybe you can have a conversation with them, do a mock-up interview, get an idea of who they are, because it's really, I think I can speak for an hour. I will never give you that feeling that you will get when you talk to somebody that just changed their careers maybe 8 months ago, and they do this because they really want to as well. And then, of course, we are looking for feedback on the curriculum. We'd like to know what is important at your company if you were to hire somebody with a junior experience. And these are just some of the ways, what I have on the screen now, some of the ways that mentors work at Hacky Future. But if you want to know more information on our website, there's absolutely everything that we do, including links to our GitHub. And in our GitHub, we have the whole curriculum about web development and also the whole curriculum about quality engineering. Everything, like I said, we're very open with our content. We really would like to hear other people's opinions on how we can do better. So yeah, like I said, most of our focus always is into like getting people hired. And now I think that while we only got 4 people to work as quality engineers so far, we have over 150 people that are working at many different companies like Marktplaats, HelloPrint, KLM, Setly, ING. There's like plenty of companies that already hire people from us, and you can also hear from them what is their experience and why they continue to hire people from our school. And that's in big part also thanks to from all the volunteers that make this possible. Are there any questions? I think that's basically it on my end.
I see there are no questions, but can you maybe share at the Zoom chat, like some links that people can get more information, or if they're interested?
Definitely. I will send also my email if somebody wants to reach out directly. Okay. And I will also share the links to our website and our repos.
Okay, this is great. Okay. It is really great what you guys are doing. I have checked also like the curriculum, and it is really interesting, and the training path that you give to your students.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Eleni, and yeah, thank you also for giving us a space to share what we're doing. We're very, very passionate about it, and we're very excited also to meet you all.
Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for spending the time to inform us about what you're doing. So thank you both. Thank you for Omnia. Thank you, Federico. And I hope we will see you soon again. Like maybe we get to know your students as well next time.
That sounds very good.
Okay.
Good luck, everybody, and thank you again for the time.
Thank you for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye. So now we can continue with Jerozan and the main presentation. Welcome, Jerozan. So I'm going to mute myself.
Hello, everyone. I guess you can see my screen now. So today I'm going to talk about testing SwiftUI Views with Snapshot Testing. So I'm gonna start by explaining what is the actual problem with SwiftUI Views, and then how snapshot testing will solve that issue. Then I'm gonna demo the snapshot testing on a simple iOS app, and at the end explain some pitfalls and best practices. So the problem, Apple in September 2019, they released SwiftUI with iOS 13. So SwiftUI is a new declarative framework to build UI. With that, they also introduced Xcode Previews. So I'm gonna show you with the demo how it looks like. So the main issue with that is you need to check manually your UI to make sure that everything is what you expect. So every time that you decide to make some changes, you check that preview and make sure that there is no regression. As it is manual, it's error prone, unreliable, and it's boring because you need to do it manually each time. And you need to do it for every view, every state, and if your app has different localization, you need to check all of the different languages. So this is not scalable, and you also have all of the different screen size and theme. On iOS, you have the light and dark theme. And the last point is really important. Even like 2 years after, I mean, almost 2 years after the Xcode Previews is still a bit buggy, and it's not really stable, so it could crash for no reason, and then you just spend a lot of time trying to make sure that everything works. I just hope that during the demo it's not gonna crash. So the solution, snapshot testing. So the snapshot testing is software testing method, and it allows you to make sure that the UI behaves the way that you expect. So it's a good way to make sure that there's no any regressions. It is the way that you make the test, it's a bit different than the regular way of testing, like unit test or integration test, because those tests you actually write the test, and then you check the output with some value that you decide, and you check if both value are equals. For the snapshot testing, you basically test the output with the last output that you get, and then the next time this new output becomes the baseline. And when the test fails, you have two choices. Either it's not intended, and you see that there is an issue on the UI, and then you decide to fix that issue, or the changes were expected, and so you decide to replace the baseline snapshot, and then the next time you will test it against that one. For the snapshot, it could be anything. It could be some text, CSV, JSON, images, whatever. It just needs to be a binary file that you can compare with. So you could also use that to test other stuff than UI. So for us, what we're gonna do is we're gonna render some SwiftUI views and take some snapshots in different states. So some of the advantages of snapshot testing is that we actually test what the user are going to see. So it's the real image of the screen. It's quite easy to write. It's also really easy to update. And so far, it's the only way to test SwiftUI views. And we can use the same method to test other stuff. So you can do that for Android, web, and even desktop apps. So I'm gonna demo that. So I've created a simple app. I'm not going to really focus on the code right now. So we have this preview. So we can see that there is the iPhone, and then it renders the view that you want it to. So it doesn't create the whole app in that. It's just the view, the UI that you created. So let's run the app. So we have a simple to-do list with a field to create a new task. So I'm gonna create one task and then another one. Okay, so we have two tasks, and I can say that I wrote some tests. So that's basically our app. So for iOS, you create a different target. So I've created one target for the testing phase, which is here. And I'm using a library called Snapshot Testing. In the end of the PowerPoint, I will add the link to that library that I'm using. But there is tons of other libraries for all of the different technologies. So let's start by creating our first test, which is going to be a unit test. And we're going to call it the to-do list test. Okay, let's hide here. We do not need that. Okay. First, we're going to import all of the different libraries that we need, and we do not need all of that. So we have that specific issue because we need to build the app first, and I don't see my menu. Okay, products. Oh, this thing. Okay, so let's create our first test, which is going to be our to-do list, and it's going to be empty. So to be able to test those views, one of the things that you need is to extract the data layer of that views. That way, when you test, you can set whatever you want. And here for us, it's this environment object item store. It doesn't really matter what's behind. The most important thing is that you could change the data without having to boot the whole app. So we're creating that store, and then creating the view, which is called to-do list here. Okay, and then you need to embed that view into a controller. So to test now the app, it's quite easy. We have this function called asset snapshot, and we want to match that view controller, and the strategy that we want to use is the image. Okay, so let's run the test. So the test is failing because it's telling us that we don't have any reference of that snapshot. So we don't have that baseline snapshot. So it's gonna, the first iteration it's gonna create that snapshot. So let's open it. Okay, so we have that snapshot, which is the first screen. So this is good. Now, if we rerun the test, it should pass because we do have this baseline image. So here is green. So if we decide to test it in different size of iPhone, you could decide to test it with, let's say, the small one, which is the SE. And then we can run it again. So it's failing because the two images are not the same. So this was the base one. And if we open the second one, which is located inside the simulator, so we open the first one and then open the second one. So we see that they are a bit different because of the ratio and also the size of the font. But we know that it's intended. So we can replace that one, and you replace it by saying that you want to record that new snapshot. So yeah, it recorded the new one, and we can rerun the test. Okay. Which is what is nice with that library is that you are able to do as many assertions that you want, and you want to test it also on the iPhone XS Max. So let's run it. So it's failing because it doesn't have the reference, and it created this one. So this is the one that is for the iPhone XS. And if we do open the one before, and this one is the one for the SE. So now we can test this SwiftUI view in two different iPhones. Let's run it again, should be green. Okay, let's add. I'm gonna go a bit quicker on that side and show you how to test with like one item. So this store, you can add whatever you want, and it doesn't really matter how it's working behind. It could be a database, or it could be API or whatever, or you can mock it if you want. The idea is that you need to give it to the view, that way it can render something. So here I'm gonna test this same UI with just one item. So it is failing as expected, and I'm gonna use the Finder, which is going to be easier. So there we have a folder named Snapshot. So this is the name of the class of the test, and then we have the name of the different tests, and we have a number which is incremented depending on the number of assertions that we do inside the test. So here we do have the one with one item, and we have the one on the iPhone XS Max. Again, should be green. Okay, and I'm gonna add one more test, which is basically doing the same thing, but testing that with different text. And this one is a bit longer, and it's gonna be help us testing more stuff after. So we have it there. Okay, so now let's continue and say that we want to refactor our app That way we can test more and testing each of the parts of our UI. And this is something good with the SwiftUI, is that you can just go and get some stuff out of the main view and then create your own different classes for your views. So let's create the one for the item. It's gonna be the to-do item. I'm gonna copy paste code. So basically, all of that is the same as this. So the idea is to extract those things into different class. And if we run the preview, we have three different previews. So we do have our first one, which is one task, the second one with a longer task, and then the last one, which is completed. So we can see the different states here. So this is the way that Apple so far tells us to check our UI. So here, first I'm gonna create the test for that class that we created before refactoring. So unit test, it's gonna be the to-do item test. Okay, and I'm gonna copy the tests. So if we run them, so those tests, it's exactly the same thing. You just create the view, and then you put it inside a hosting controller, and then you test it and you say that you are expecting, you want an image. So it's just that you change what you want inside. So like the last one, you want the item with the completed attribute to true. So if we check the images that it created, so we have our new folder, and this is the view that we have. So we don't need to test the full screen, because those ones are just really limited views in what we want. But we can test also different stuff. Like for this one, which is a long one, the UI is going to be really different depending on the size of the phone. So you could precise in what size you want to render that specific view, and that way you can check how it looks. So it's this one and this one. So you see that when it's shorter, the line goes to the some words goes to the third line, compared to the first one where we just add 2 lines. Okay, let's run it again. That way everything is green. Okay, so we created a new component, and then we tested it, but we still need to replace our main code, and that way we can use the new class that we created. But just before, let's run it again to make sure that we didn't break anything. Okay, so everything is green. Now we can replace the first list. So let's do that. So we want to remove everything that's inside the for each. Okay. So let's run the test again. And if I didn't mess up, everything should be green because we didn't change actually the view. Okay, cool. everything is green. We can do the same thing with, oh, this is the wrong one. Delete that. And I'm gonna do the same thing with the add new task class. So let's create a to-do new item. I'm gonna go a bit quick on that. So I just moved the code that's here, which is giving us this first box where we can add one item. So I've created it here, and I'm gonna create the test for that. And we wanted to test for when the item is empty and when the customer is actually writing the task. Okay, so everything saved, and if I run the test, we should see the two images. Okay. New item. Let's test the empty. So the empty look like this, and when the user starts typing, the color change and it's black. Okay. And here, so I've removed the content from there and replaced it with the new item. And if we run again the test, everything should be green. Everything is green. So this is a good way to make sure that when you refactor a UI, you make sure that nothing else is broken, and it could even be a few pixels, and if you do have that few pixel difference, you will see that the test fails. Okay, now I can show you what happens when you actually change something that you wanted to change. So like we have this case where when we have an item and it's starting to be long, like in 3 lines, that doesn't look great. So we can shorten that and expect to always have a 2-line task. So we can do that by saying that we want a line limit of 2. And if we check the previews, I don't have a preview with 3 lines, but we can get one by putting a bit more. I did something wrong. Let's just add something. Okay, so we see that this one went into 2 lines, and if we remove that, we have it in 4 lines. So let's add it again. And if we run our test, the one from the item first, so there's one that's failing this test, and we have 2 assertions that's failing. So those ones are the 2 with where we specified the size. And if we check the difference between both. Okay, so this is the right one is the new one, and the left one is the baseline. So we do see that the UI changed, but it's expected. So we can decide to say that we actually wanted that. Thing for the one below. Run it again. Okay, then it's recorded, so we can remove our record. That's something that you need to be careful to not forget to remove those record. Okay, it's green, and if we run our test from the whole to-do list view, we should have some failing case. So the last one, we see that for the iPhone SE only, it changes something. So we can check also what's the difference. And that was the other ones. And this is the baseline snapshot. Okay, so we see that it's exactly what we expected. So let's record it. Then remove the record. So I maybe went too fast. Yeah, okay. So this is the, I showed you when what we expect when we refactor and what we expect when we intend to change the UI. So some of the best practices that you should do is to include the snapshot in your test. That way you are sure that you actually test the UI and not just the user flow, but actually what the user is going to see on the screen. You can commit those snapshots, and that way you can include the review of the snapshot in code review process, like on GitHub, because that way you can have this diff between like the old baseline and the new one that you think that you are expecting. You need to be careful with the description of the snapshot names, and because they're similar to the naming of the tests. So you need to make sure that the function that the name that you're using is quite explicit, and you understand what actually you are testing. And this library is so it's putting those snapshot inside this folder. So there's the snapshot folder, and then the name of the class that you are testing, and the method of the test. One good practice also could be to use Git LFS. It's a function of functionality of Git where you can decide to put a pointer to a file that is stored somewhere else than Git, because at some point when you test a lot of UI, your repo is going to be really big, and with Git LFS you make sure that your Git repo is quite small, but not by not putting those images on Git, but putting them on S3 or somewhere else, and then just having the reference on Git. Some pitfalls, because there are still some. The first one is the test coupling. Like you saw when I changed the item, there is other tests that fail because those UI they are cascading. So if you change a UI SwiftUI view somewhere and it's used in different other views, you are gonna have a cascade of failures, which is not always great. But the good thing is that you can update those snapshots quite fast. But this is also a pitfall because it's too easy to update the snapshot, and it's really easy to not trying to understand why the test failed. And developers, even myself, we're lazy, and it's really easy to say, okay, I mean that still looks okay, and then push it. And as it's testing UI changes a lot, so you're gonna see a lot of test failing, but they are intended, and the main concept of the testing is to make sure that you don't have any regression. But with that, you're gonna have those tests failing because you actually wanted them to fail. And then the size of the repo, but for that we do have that solution, but you need to take time to implement that. So I can't see the questions.
There's some questions in the chat. Jerozan, also Eleni sent that to you via Slack.
Oh, I've closed my Slack to not be disturbed.
Or I can read it for you. Maybe you can answer.
Yes.
So the first question from Sergey while you were starting the presentation was, maybe it was a suggestion. He suggested we could start with a failing test. And for your presentation could start with a failing test.
Okay.
So I think you already sort of touched upon that, where you had a test failure and then you fixed it. And then there was a question from me. I'll read it. Is it correct to say we won't be able to use one snapshot test for an app that has different languages? So let's say the Photo Knudsen.
Yes.
The photo organizer app in Photo Knudsen or Photo, it's the same app in different languages. Is it correct?
Yes.
That we won't be able to use snapshot test for?
So if the UI is kind of decoupled from the logic of the app, you can use snapshot testing, at least in a unit test way, without having to launch the whole app and do some click and all of that to take the snapshot. But it's still a solution. It's not really a good practice to use snapshot testing in a integration test flow because it makes the test really slow. But if it's in a unit test way, you can definitely do that. So for example, the Albelli app, if you have some UI that's decoupled from the whole flow, that's something that you can do, and you can also like render those UIs in the different language and take a snapshot of that.
Cool. And I believe you have sort of answered all the other questions. Nevertheless, I'm going to read that out. Salam asks, can you use snapshot testing for a specific area in the app rather than the whole screen?
Yeah, so like I saw, I showed you for the small components, like if we have just that item, you can just test that specific item, and you could go really further and decide, for example, just to test that round button if you want to. It depends on how you split your the code of your UI.
Cool. And I believe you also answered this question, but nevertheless, Sergey asked if there are any common strategies for managing the golden snapshot images committed to Git could result in a large repo. Yeah.
So yeah, if you commit everything in Git, your repo is going to be definitely big, and Git LFS is one of the solution. I mean, it's gonna take time to create those things, and you also need to manage a bit of infrastructure to store those images. But I think it's worth the effort and price to make sure that you're actually testing what the user is gonna see.
Cool. We are 2 minutes beyond time. I hope it's okay with everyone. We have a few more questions. Again, this one from me. How fragile will these tests get once we start using them? As in, at what point do we say, hey, maybe we should rather have unit tests instead of snapshot tests?
I guess it's good to have those snapshot tests for some important UI bits. I'm not sure that it makes sense to test every UI in an app because those tests is gonna take some time to run, and it should not slow too much your CI/CD, for example, and also for when you develop, it should not become a point that's slowing down in the development process. I'm not sure I've replied to the answer actually.
You did.
Okay.
I think the last question from Sergey again. Why do we have these unintended failures? As I see, snapshot tests are free of the usual griefs UI testing often have, and which lead to a lot of false negatives. So his question is, why do we have these unintended failures?
So for the snapshot testing, you could have some failures because like you decide to refactor, but the app that I showed you is quite simple, and the real apps are really more complex, and by refactoring you could expect like to have some few pixel padding that you didn't expect, and trying to debug that could be also complex because at least for now, Apple doesn't allow you to go to the hierarchy of UI in SwiftUI Views. It could be implemented maybe later, but until it's not, it's going to be a bit of a pain to know where that issue came from, and also because the way that SwiftUI is made, you could have different classes and then you import them, but you could override some stuff on that. You could decide that your component is going to be green, but it was supposed to be blue. So you could override everything that you want in different views. So that's complicated, and I'm reading the rest of the question. I think I've replied.
Sergey, if you still have questions, please let us know right away. If I don't hear from you in 4 seconds, I'll assume he has answered your question.
Yeah, so you need to make sure that the UI that you test is really decoupled of the app logic. Say that you have, for example, an UI where you display the time. Definitely your test is going to fail if you run it in a different time. So you need to make sure that the UI that's displaying the time is not responsible for getting the time.
Makes sense. Cool. Looks like that's all the questions we had, Jerozan. Thank you very much for your time.
So the demo app is on my GitHub, and you have a branch for every step that I've done, so you can go through and have a look. This is the library that I used, which is developed by Point Free, and there will be the YouTube link after.
Cool. Thank you for your time. Thank you all for your time. See you all in the next webinar. Thanks for your support, and ciao. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you.